Well, after a long summer break, the first appearance since Paul Ricard in round 4, we arrive for round 5 at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, a circuit that has brought us many fine moments in the world of GT action here under the GT Sport organisation. The Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, home to the Spanish Grand Prix, as it has been since the early 90s. First opened up as the opening event for the Olympics back then for the cycling that took place and its start-finish line. Since then, we have seen many great Grand Prix races in the past, but also great GT Cup Europe races also in the past. And we could yet be on the cusp of yet another one. 4.657 kilometre in length, that's 2.894 miles, 14 turns are set here for the drivers, but a long way to go, with over 50 minutes of action to come. And it's GDL Porsche on top after Federico Al Rifai, the Saudi F4 champion, whose arrival here in this series has caused somewhat of a storm. We've got a huge title battle happening right at the top so far, with Ivan Velasco and Luka Ludwig leading the way on 79 points. A gap then to second place, Nicolas Salins and Stinus Longin in second, with Matteo Levisi and Federico Al Rifai, your pole sitters, sat in third place in the championship. But they are going to be joined on the front row by Luka Ludwig and Ivan Velasco, two of our three title contenders at the moment sat at the front of the grid. It's going to be a stellar fight. George Morgan here in the commentary box. Alongside me as always, it's Chris Stevens.
And it's another Porsche v Ferrari battle up at the front of the field. The GDL Porsche against the Mertel Ferrari. Has often been the case in qualifying throughout this year, but the 67 GDL crew of Federico Al Rifai and Matteo Levisi just started dropping back a little bit in the championship in Paul Ricard. They sit third in the standings, 12 points away from the championship leading Mertel Ferrari of Velasco and Ludwig. The car in between them is from Q1 Track Racing. It's Nicolas Salins and Stinus Longin, but they are a little bit further down the order. Stinus Longin starting 8th on the grid for this first race of the weekend. Plenty of questions to be answered about this one as we close in on crowning a champion. It's unlikely to happen this weekend, but there is a possibility that it could, particularly if Luka Ludwig and Ivan Velasco can secure a 4th victory of the season. But there is a lot standing in their way. An army of Porsches are behind them on the grid, and the Ferraris supposedly are wearing through their tyres a little bit faster than the Porsches, which on a day like this, where the track has been in a bit of a low grip state, every single driver I've spoken to this weekend has said they were really struggling for grip, and then we slide the tyres more, and so the wear increases, and then you slide even more, and you're in a toboggan. And so we really need to watch for the pace towards the end of the first stint, and then of course towards the end of the race.
Yeah, many of the drivers have been coming out, certainly the Ferrari one, saying that tyre deg has been heightened, obviously not just due to the conditions, but just the very nature of the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya in itself. So many progressive corners that are fast-paced. If we think about just one example, obviously coming out of turn 4, where we've seen a couple of cars going into the gravel trap, and also the Lakea bend coming down the bottom of the straight off the top of Campsa, and then you've got a sprinkling over the corners. This one is of course Lakea bend right now, funnily enough, heading up towards turn 12 at Bank San Bedell. Obviously the drivers making their way around on the formation lap just to get underway and obviously to take up their grid spots. Eventually we will get into the official formation lap and then the rolling start, but yeah, it's going to be a tantalising affair. Federico Al Rifai granting the GDL pairing of he and Matteo Levisi their 4th pole position of the campaign. Last time out they achieved pole, they did not score points in the opening race at Paul Ricard, but in race 2 at Spa they went from pole to victory. They'll be hoping that lightning can strike twice here, Chris.
Yes, it was contact for Federico Al Rifai against, I think it was Stinus Longin driving the Q1 Track Racing car at the time of the contact late into that first race of the weekend in Paul Ricard. And then Matteo Levisi really struggled off the line from pole position in race 2. And so it was, oh no, that was in race 1, wasn't it? Sorry, but yeah, they were struggling for pace in race 2 for sure. And so there is a hope that a clean weekend might just just bring them back into the championship contention. This is the car leading the championship in the AM category. Dieter Schweppes starting the car, Leandro Martins taking the second stint. And it is a very close fight in AM with only 4 points covering that car, and then a pair of Q1 track racing Porsches in close proximity, the Laurent van der Velde and Nathan Braun's car, which is the 52, and then the Van Dierendonk and Dumas car, which is the 57, very close in the championship. And they are starting on pole position is the Racar Porsche in third position overall, and a long way clear of their nearest rivals in the 57 and the 52 that are starting 13th and 17th respectively. Slight amendment to the grid since qualifying, which is Davide Scanicchio's 3-place grid penalty after an incident in Paul Ricard. So he starts from 20th. And of course, his teammate Fabio Babini was part of Tsunami Racing Team's GT Open debut 2 weeks ago at the Red Bull Ring alongside Johannes Zalga, who's also in this race.
We can also talk about Dieter Schweppes being a race winner alongside Leandro Martins, of course alluding to his current AM lead. He also took victory overall along with Martins back at Portimao, and that was in race 1, so they were briefly overall leading the championship at one stage. Obviously, as things have transpired, things have somewhat changed. There is Lars Zanen, currently started in 9th place, with a little bit of work to do, obviously, as far as their championship's concerned, but they're not too far away, and they have nestled in some decent podium results. They, of course, have nestled in 4 so far, could be on the cusp of getting a 5th, no doubt, with their sheer consistency and their brilliance in scoring points. They will have to contest against the likes of Javier Ripoll Jr., though, the EST1 team, once again adding further cars to the championship. They came in, obviously, not just with their long-standing driver, Alex Ryman, who has been doing a lot of Porsche driving lately. They have, of course, added to the numbers. Laura van den Hengel, we've been speaking to her throughout the weekend as well. She's been also alluding to the fact that the tyres have been challenging. Finding the right setup has been tricky. They tried 2 different kinds through the course of the free practice element. They initially said, actually, that the first one was the better one, but still they needed to find something to prolong the tyre life on the Michelin rubber. It's a chess game, Chris.
It is, and you also need to think that if you've got your slower driver in for the first stint, you're going to come in earlier into the pit lane, which means that you're going to have worse tyre life than your rivals at the end of the race. So it is slightly 4-dimensional chess that everyone is playing out there, but it should be a very interesting race. As we can see, beautiful grid of 24 cars taking the start. The car that crashed in qualifying, the Eric Wagner Enrico Fulgenzi Racing Porsche, doesn't seem to be on the grid after a knock with the wall very early on in qualifying. So 24 car field of Porsche Cup machinery, Ferrari 488 Challenges, and 1 Lamborghini Super Trofeo joining.
Well, let's take you through the highlights from Paul Ricard. It was a very busy start, but Mertel were on top, at least for a brief time, though it wasn't long before the pairing of Stinas Longin and his co-partner obviously trying to make their way around the outside. It was a challenge for the Porsches heading through into that final sector, though they did come alive in stages. Mertel, though, ruled in race 1 and took victory with Velasco and Ludwig. It was then a wet start for race 2 as we got underway. Things got off to a spicy start for Rosso Corsa, who managed to career onwards. Fernando Innocenti managing to nestle himself in front along with Nicolo Schiro. There was obviously a bit of a scrap happening in Sector 2 as well on the run through, heading down the long straight. And Sector 3 lit up once more. Porsches came together, they challenged, they fought. This was a continuous theme towards the end of the race at Paul Ricard, but it was the pairing of Stinas Longin and also Nicholas Salins who would go on to take victory in race 2. Well, racing action about to get underway. Cars making their way around on the formation lap, and we have got 7 different teams in the top 7. Let's take you through them. P1, it is Federico El Rafai for GDL Porsche. Luca Ludwig alongside him, 2 of our 3 championship contenders. Dieter Schweppes in 3rd place, Alex Ryman in 4th place for EST1 Racing. Then down in 5th place is Ivan Giacomo with Evgeny Leonov for Volcano Motorsport in 6th place. 7th place for Lorenzo Fernando Innocenti with Stinas Longin in P8. Ninth place for Lars Zanen with Javier Ripoll Jr. in 10th. We move down now into the remaining grid numbers. We got Laura van den Hengel, who did very well in qualifying. Mertel in P11, 12th for Florentin Sescu in R01 Racing. Nicholas van Dierendonk in 13th, Mauro Trentin in 14th place. Further down, 15th place for Johannes Zelga, fresh from his GT Open appearance. Alvaro Libera as well in 16th place. 17th place from Laurent van der Velde, Paolo Prestopino starting P18. Further down then, P19 is Roberto Fecchio with 20th place for Davide Scanicchio. Moving on to 21st, Chen starting in that position with Annie Frosio in 22nd place. We then head to the two final cars. We got Stefano Bozzoni, who lines up there alongside Luciano Piviatello, who unfortunately had a tricky time at the start of qualifying. Cars, though, making their way around, Chris, and it's an imperative formation like this. Obviously, not just tyre wear a concern, but also positioning, because there's quite a long run down towards turn 1.
It's a very long run from the pole position slot down to the braking zone at turn 1. It is something like 660 meters. So the launch off the line is going to be incredibly important. There are going to be plenty of slipstreaming opportunities. And of course, the Ferrari has been very dominant on the straights. So there could be an opportunity for Luca Ludwig to jump Federico Arrufai at the start. But there is an army of Porsches between them and the remaining Ferraris. And I think the rest of them might struggle to find their way through in the first few corners. It tends to bottle up at turn 1 quite quickly. And from then on, it's all going to be about tyre management, nursing not only the front tyres, but the rear tyres as well, because all 4 corners take a bit of a hammering around this circuit.
Yeah, you certainly do. Ranenbank Sambadel here towards the final stages of this formation lap. It's Federico Arrufai back on pole position. Can he make use of it on the run down towards turn 1? Last victory, it was a little while ago. Back at Spa, can they repeat the magic? Only this time at Barcelona. They went from pole to victory then. Pole to victory now would be a stellar result on their part, especially in context of the title fight. But all eyes on Ludwig with that Ferrari pungent pace that I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of. Keep your eyes peeled on Lorenzo Innocenti, who'll be looking to try and fight his way through. The cars now trundling up towards the line. The lights go green and it's pedal to the metal. And it's go, 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 go. Great start for Federico Arrufai. Breaks a little bit clear of Luca Ludwig, but now the Ferrari will come into movement, come into action now. He needs the traction though in towards turn 1, but I think Arrufai might have his number. Ludwig though challenging anyway. He's going to try it around the outside. Further back, Porsche's fighting it out. Off the track goes Ludwig, but rejoins very early, coming into contact with Dieter Schweppes as they now fly. And there's another car, the R01 Porsche, going a little bit wide, coming out of turn 3, but it is still Federico Arrufai. He leads the way. Schweppes trying to move up as well. He's going alongside, or at least trying to challenge Luca Ludwig, coming through towards turn 4. Wheel to wheel, they'll stay on the run out now, down towards Seat corner, but Ludwig, I think, handling on. He certainly is handling on, and now challenging, running outside of Federico Arrufai. Schweppes back again, Chris.
Yep, trying to go down the inside of turn 5, and the Porsche might get a good enough run here to try and clear him on the way into turn 7. We can just see it here on the onboard. The bright yellow Racar car doesn't quite manage to make it through, and Alex Ryman coming under pressure as well, because he's been done by Ivan Giacomo on the way into that corner as well. So that's Giacomo up into 4th position, I believe. But that was some real heads-up driving from Federico Arrufai at turn 2. He saw that Ludwig had cut the corner, and he left him a space on the exit of the left-hander, because I think he probably anticipated that otherwise the Ferrari might have got into the side of his car.
Yeah, difficult start for Florentin Sescu as well. We just saw him running slightly wide coming through Lakea. He did, of course, run a little bit off as well. And that's Lorenzo Innocenti that has just licked up some of the gravel as well, as we now watch them head down in towards the final corner at turn 14. Arrufai, very clever off the start, got off the line really quickly. Dieter Schweppes just taking up some of the earth as well, just on the outset of turn 14 as we ride on board with the Rosso Corsa Ferrari of Lorenzo Fernando Innocenti. As they now head down through towards turn 1. He's got quite a little bit of distance to catch on the Porsche that sits in front of Stina's Longin as they now fly through the first sector. Still at the top, Arrufai trying to break away from Ludwig. It currently sits at 9/10 of a second as it stands. Dieter Schweppes keeping Ludwig honest right now. We'd have some movements further back. This looks like the 52 Porsche. Now trying to challenge Lauren van der Velde on Trentin as they now head through towards turn 4 and turn 5. Heading up the inside now, we've got some more wheel-to-wheel action. Laura van den Hengel with Nicholas van Dierendonk currently lined up in behind with Florentin Sescu, who's on a little bit of a recovery mission, but Davide Scaniccio has managed to trump Zelgar for that 17th place.
Yeah, action all the way through the pack as we got a great onboard here with the 57 of Nico van Dierendonk. Cross car in contention for the AM Championship, chasing Laura van den Hengel in front of him. Laura's found a really good vein of form in Paul Ricard, and she's continuing to show it here. You see out front Federico Arrafai stretching his legs a little bit, but Ludwig was faster in the middle sector, or in the first sector I should say, and Arrafai returning the favour on this lap so far, so the gap about 9/10 of a second. But what's important here is that the GDL car doesn't have any handicap, whereas the Mertel Ferrari in second position does. It has 10 seconds to take.
It's going to hurt during the pit stop phase when obviously driver changes are paramount, and obviously you've got to serve that additional time. And essentially, that's what the success penalty's all about as they now head down towards turn 1. Al Rifai still maintaining that 9/10 of a second gap. Well, the Ferrari is not, certainly not on the tail of Al Rifai. The GDL Porsche doing a great job. A little look down the inside from Alex Ryman in the EST1 Porsche, trying to chase after Ivan Yakoma. That's a battle for 4th place that we're currently seeing on our screens as well. There's the familiar colours of the orange and black EST1 Racing Porsche now this time. Of course, Alex Ryman debuting in the season last year and now back again for a full campaign this time around as well, trying to look to challenge and fight his way through the field. He, of course, has managed to pull off some terrific results in his own right. Tends to run solo when it comes to racing, but has got certainly all the stamina in the world. Took 2 podiums already this campaign, and his best form has been his recent form. Both races at Paul Ricard, he came away with a podium, Chris.
Yeah, it was quite surprising to say at the time that it was his first podium of the season, because he's always been a front runner. But of course, he does have to take handicap regardless of his previous results, because he is a silver class driver running solo. So effectively, that's an all-pro lineup, which are not allowed in the GT Cup Europe. This being the younger sibling to the GT Open for Pro-Am racers. And so that handicap helps to negate that somewhat, as Dieter Schreps is not finished here with Luca Ludwig, and a much tighter line through turns 10 and 11. He's all over the back of the championship leader, who already seems to be struggling for pace, or nursing those tyres much more than Dieter Schreps is having to at the moment, because Schreps, the AM Championship leader, is all over the back of a multiple Nürburgring class winner and GT champion. As they head back out onto the straight, let's see what the straight line performance is like between the Ferrari and the Porsche. Well, Schreps is not utilising the slipstream as it stands, which is interesting. Maybe trying to get some cooler air into that car, but Ludwig that time around was 4/10 slower than race leader Al Rifai and 3/10 slower than Schreps behind him. And so Schreps is still looking at the rear wing. Ryman is still trying to find his way through on Giacomo. Of course, he and Schreps are in the same class. The 2 leaders in AM line astern in the standings at the moment. Evgeny Leonov in that Volcano Porsche trying to find his way around Lorenzo Innocenti for 7th position. And we should mention as well, Stinas Long has had a decent start because he's made up 2 places. But obviously still behind the car that they need to be finishing ahead of to keep the championship alive.
Yeah. It's going to be a very interesting ending towards this race. Obviously, when you factor in the penalties and everything, or should we say the handicaps that need to be utilised during the pit stop phases, obviously it can make the whole race turn on its head. But as it stands, Al Rifai has lapped consistently the fastest lap over the last 2 occasions and is still persevering. His pace is still extremely strong, though Ludwig managed to put in a personal best in that last sector, but it's not keeping necessarily Dieter Schreps in his place, because He's still keen to try and make the jump. Here's the replay from the start. Great getaway for Federico Al Rafai. He pounced immediately onto the throttle. Ludwig, despite challenging around the outside, I think obviously just tried to unsettle the momentum that Federico had, and eventually going off circuit, had to rejoin. It was an uncomfortable run through for Ludwig, who tried to perhaps brave it a little on the brakes. This is the look as we saw it coming out of turn 2, and there we saw the R01 Porsche just going wide. It was 4 wide going through towards turn 3, and a car got caught. That's Zelga, I believe.
I think that is the Johanna Zelga car, but it's still circulating in 18th position, so I think we're going to see a heck of a save. If we just caught it on the drone cam, I don't think we did. What a shame, but this is how Innocenti saw it on the run down towards turn 1. 3 Porsches wide going into the first corner, and Leonov ended up taking to the escape road as well. Did they get a free pass for not taking the correct route on the first lap when you cut the corner there? I think it might just be a bit of a anything goes on the first lap, but normally when you do it, you have to take the little escape road to rejoin. It slows you down enough so that you don't get an advantage. But that is the Trenti Porsche from 4th position that has spun round in an incredibly strong position. And I think what we've just seen there is an example of the grip struggles that everyone has been talking about this weekend.
They have tyres have certainly faced scrutiny now, and speaking of facing scrutiny, so is Innocenti. A little look from Lars Zanen further back as they now climb through up the hill, but certainly nothing troubling them. Evgeny Leonov as well part of this fight as they now head through towards Bank Sambadel.
Yeah, so Leonov's got past
and here comes now. We've got further back as we watch this fight continue. Lars Zanen up the inside now, looking to go side by side, coming through the final bend. Oh, no! Oh, goodness me! Losing the car on the inside line, coming out of turn 13 at Europe Car, and Lars Zanen just getting it all wrong over the curb, just pivoted the car. It then made contact with Lorenzo Ferdinando Innocenti, both cars spilling off just before turn 14, and that looks like it's going to be a yellow flag. Yes, we've got team managers for car 91 also being asked to report to the race control immediately, but it all erupted just towards the end of that previous lap.
Yeah, will we need a safety car to recover those cars there? It's green everywhere else on the track, and so Dieter Schweppes is continuing to pile on the pressure on Luca Ludwig. A safety car would not be great news for the championship leaders, of course, because it would bring the field back together when they have handicap to serve. But then the Rackar car is unhandicapped as well, which has been a rarity actually for this season. So they made their way back towards the end of the second sector, and we do have a safety car out for that incident at turn 13. Race control there, making the correct call. We could see race director Nea Santamaria making the call and her great support team, but there we have Lars Zanen out of the car and not looking too particularly happy. You see we have 2 cars very much beached in the gravel trap. So it's Zanen up the inside at 13. Innocenti rather squeezes him there, and Zanen had to cut the corner, and I think there's even less grip there than there is on the race asphalt, and ended up losing the car and sliding into the side of the Rosso Corsa Ferrari.
Yeah, I just think he got up on the race curb there, just on the inside, and it unfortunately just the balance went. It just lost the car. Eventually, it was almost the case. You can see it now, in fact, just getting onto the curb.
Was there contact even before he ended up on the inside? Well, he was there, I wonder.
Well, here's the view from Innocenti's perspective.
Well, it's fairly innocuous until the major contact that spins Innocenti out of the race.
Yeah, not ideal at all. But yeah, it just was the balance. We just look at them coming through the final 2 bends, and unfortunately just losing the car altogether. Almost used Innocenti as a way to keep himself up on its feet. But unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. Both cars eventually spilling out. But unfortunate there to see them both out, because, I mean, Innocenti, since coming into the championship last year, of course, had a relatively, low level of appearances in terms of actual motor racing action. Done a lot in Ferrari Challenge. Of course, Andrea Bellici has been his coach as well for a number of years. Obviously, Lars Zanen not happy one iota. Yeah, I mean, they've been impressive. And I must say, I remember you know, looking at their Spa race earlier on this season, I mean, he was pulling off moves going through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, through the Porsches, and it was fantastic to watch. And he's come such a long way as a driver, and obviously you would never ever discount Rosso Corsa being successful. They were successful in their first weekend at Paul Ricard last year. They came back to Paul Ricard this year and once again took 2 podiums through the course of that weekend. But it's well, not through that weekend, I do apologise. It was the one race that they... No, sorry, it was a podium at Spa, and they took 2 podiums at Spa. So it was a tremendous effort on their part, but yeah, unfortunately today's come to a very quick close. And
Andrea Bellici back in that car after his Hockenheim injury and then illness in Paul Ricard, and he's not even going to get to race today. As we see again, the contact that took both these cars out of the race, front left to right rear, puts them both round, and then the Q1 track racing car even ends up into the barriers, and that's some momentum because that's a big gravel trap that's there now, and
I mean, I know
Tech Pro barriers that are there now since reverting to this layout.
I mean, you know that appreciate, obviously, Zanen would have applied some level of braking coming into turn 13 anyway, but that is still a furiously fast corner that they're taking.
Oh, yes.
You know, it doesn't
I don't
matter.
even think it's a brake. I think it's just a lift.
But just basically a lift. But I think in that occasion, you could see the lights were blinking on the back of the car. There was definitely some elements of braking on his part just to try and make the corner, but obviously just not quite enough. And, you know what it's like when you go too wide, especially through a furiously fast section like that. You are going to be challenged. We saw Mikel Pitamba in that same position last year in the GT Open when we came here. But yeah, a big moment and not ideal. The car's now being attended to by the marshals. They were brilliant in qualifying as well, where we witnessed some moments happening, and once again they've been called to attention. But it won't be long, incidentally, until we see the driver change period open at 6 minutes and 58 to go, Chris.
Yeah, so this is not great news for the AT Mertel, nor is it great news for Alex Ryman, who's the most heavily handicapped car after his podiums in Paul Ricard. 15 seconds he has to take. Not great news for Stinus Longin and Nicholas Salins either, because they have to take 10 seconds in 5th position there. And or really any of the Q1 track racing cars, because they all have handicap for this race. So
well, it's good for GDL, if anything. I mean, obviously it does enable them to, whilst obviously Federico Al Rafai has had to forfeit the gap that he had on Luca Ludwig, he still retains at least something in the pit stop phase. So, you know, what he may have lost in the initial stint, he regains back immediately.
Yeah, that is somewhat true. Of course, it's the pros in the car for both of the top 2, and they'll hand over to their bronze drivers in the second half of the race. That is also the case for the number 11 Q1 track racing car. Stinus Longin is the silver class driver in that car. Salins is the bronze. So yeah, they could sort of meet in the middle a little bit afterwards. But you would expect the GDL car to be in a decent position here as a result of that.
Another twist for the championship.
Yeah, it is. Of course, what that's done as well for Racar is that's given them a lot of space between them and their nearest rivals because of the spin for who's in the car. Wasn't Priviatello. Struggling to find them on the list now, because it's one of our wildcard entries, isn't it? Ivan Giacomo, that was it, excuse me. Still circulating there in 22nd and what is now last. But we have safety car lights out, George.
Yeah, coming back to green flag conditions. They're just rounding the Lakea bend now, and it's still Federico Al Rafai up at the front. There is Laura van den Hengel, still running strongly, P10 at the moment, and it's done exceptionally well as part of the Mertel team, who have really championed female drivers as part of their very foundation of racing. Annie Frozio as well, racing for them down in 19th place. She'll be hoping to make some places, and she's already up a few after the qualifying this morning. But now it's Federico Al Rafai who will get us back to true race pace, coming through towards turn 14 now, around the final corner. And with 33 minutes and 15 seconds to go. We go green, and it's pedal to the metal for the second time in this race now. And it's still Federico Al-Rifai, but getting a lovely restart was Luca Ludwig, and he's right in the wheel tracks here of Federico Al-Rifai. If there's ever a time to make the overtake, it's now before the pit stop phase, and around the outside, Ludwig will go. Federico squeezing him to the inside as well. He'll rejoin in the lead, but will he have to give that place back? It's opened the door to Dieter Schweppes, who now rounds the outside, coming out of turn 3 and down towards turn 4. Porsche's now losing a place, but gaining a place, given the fact that Schweppes is now up to second and now challenging Luca Ludwig up at the front. Alex Ryman on the tail of Federico Al-Rifai as they come out of turn 4.
Well, surely now that means that Dieter Schweppes is our de facto race leader, because surely Luca Ludwig is going to have to give that place back, and he's going to have to give one back to the Rackar Porsche as well. So what that move has done, as Schweppes was kicking up the gravel there on the exit of turn 5, is that's going to lose Ludwig a place in the long run. I cannot imagine he'll be allowed to hang on to the lead there. So Al-Rifai got jumped there and ended up getting a bit mugged by Schweppes around the outside of turn 3, which was absolutely sensational as well. So Ryman tried to take advantage of it as well, so he's on the back of the GDL car, and suddenly Steeners Longin is right in play here as well, as Leonov has gotten himself up into 6th position ahead of Javier Ripoll Jr., the Venezuelan. Coming through the 3rd sector, Ryman is practically pushing Al-Rifai through this right-hander here and then into the last couple of corners. Now, will the Estonian be able to get a run on Al-Rifai this time around?
You'll be hoping so. 31 minutes and 28 now until the end of the race, but first and foremost, we've got the driver change in 2 minutes and 20. They'll burst down now towards turn 1 once again. Dieter Schweppes all over the tail of Luca Ludwig again, but not quite close enough to manufacture an overtake. We did see them, though, absolutely spot on. Alex Ryman was indeed challenging Federico Al-Rifai. The R01 Porsche also under attack as well. Florentin Sescu and Javier Ripoll Jr. But it looks like, I think, that it's not going to be ideal for Ripoll Jr. to make that move happen. The R01 Porsche holding on very well indeed. It was an unfortunate start for Laura van den Hengel. She's down to 13th. Remember, she was P10 on the restart of the safety car, just having a little moment in the first sector. But as they now come out of turn 4, down through towards Seat Corner, they're being pursued now, these top 2, by Federico Al-Rifai, who I'm sure is hurting after losing his lead spot.
Yeah, so it's all calmed down a little bit now, hasn't it, after quite a lively restart. And Schweppes was pushing Ludwig before the safety car came out for 2nd position at the time, and so it does look like at the moment that this Rackar Porsche is one of the faster cars on the racetrack, which is quite astonishing. So yeah, back on board with Ripoll Jr. as he tries to round up Tincescu in front of him. They've got the 57 Q1 track racing Porsche of Nico van Dierendonk just in front of them as well. And that's a dive on the inside from one of the other Q1 cars, the 52 of Laurent van der Velde, trying to get around Alvaro Libera, who's in a new team, new car for this weekend, leaving the Mertel team and joining SMC Motorsports and switching from the Ferrari to the Porsche. And now here's that moment again on the restart. And Al-Rifai does drift out a little bit wide, but Luca's completely passed him off the racetrack. There's no way he's going to be able to keep that.
Well, still awaiting word here so far. Until we do, we'll keep you posted, everybody. Federico Al-Rifai, in the meantime, has managed to close up somewhat to the back of Dieter Schweppes. So the gap now equal between the top 3, 5/10 between Schweppes and Ludwig. And then, of course, we've got 5/10 between Al-Rifai and Schweppes as well as they come out of turn 3 now. Through towards turn 4. Al-Rifai, Saudi F4 champion, knows what it's like to win, would love obviously to turn this championship on its head with a positive result here at Barcelona, though it has been complicated after that move in towards turns 1 and turns 2 when he and Ludwig came together. They head down now in towards Seat Corner. There's Alex Ryman as well in the distance. Steeners Longin is very much part of this scrap and is bringing along Evgeny Leonov along for the ride. Of course, there's quite a gap of 3.4 seconds between he and Nicolas van Dierendonk further back. Ivan Giacomo is on a bit of a turn as well. 17th place now, has been fighting his way from the back. It wasn't long ago he overtook Prestapino. He's now overtaken Chen, and he's now trying to charge down on Vecchio over 16th place. So Giacomo is in beast mode right now.
Yeah, that safety car would have helped him a little bit, would have brought him back onto the tail end of the field, having dropped down to the back after that spin at turn 3 earlier on. And so for the lead now, Schweppes is back on Ludwig's tail, as he was when they were fighting for second place earlier on. And Arafai's not out of this just yet. Last time around, he lapped half a second quicker than Schweppes, and 3 or 4 tenths quicker than race leader Luca Ludwig. And so the pace is still there in that GDL Porsche, just doesn't have track position at the moment. Schweppes continues to pull out of the slipstream down the front straight, but the driver change window is open, and Alex Ryman is the first man to hit the pits.
He is indeed, in he comes. Instead, Giacomo also getting past Vecchio, so he's up to 16th. Trentin now moving on up as we see more cars come in. Navarrete will be jumping in shortly. Nathan Brawns will be jumping in for his stint. Alex Ryman, obviously no change on his part, but he's got to serve his handicap given the fact that he is running solo in this race. And now we have more and more cars breaking in as well. Fernando Navarrete, Rodrigo stepping in for Alvaro Libera, doing the first stint, and for the first time in Porsche machinery as well. So we'll see how they get on through towards the end of the race. Obviously a little different. There's obviously going to be an adjustment factor. We now take our eyes back up to the top 3. There's Luca Ludwig, closely followed by Schweppes, closely followed by Al Rafai. Once again, the gap's fairly equal between them. 5 tenths now between Ludwig and Schweppes, 4 tenths between Al Rafai and the fellow Porsche of Schweppes this time. Prestipino jumps ahead of Leon Chen as well. He's now 14th place for Prestipino, as they now fly down through towards the next left-hander at Likea. There's in the distance you can see Stina's long in as well, but closer and closer is Evgeny Leonov.
Yep, so that's 4th and 5th. That will be disputed there between the Q1 Track Racing and the Volcano Motorsport cars. Longin is drifting off the back of this podium battle, about 4 tenths slower than Arafai last time around, as the first drivers to complete their pit stops exit pit lane. You can see how much time Ryman has lost with his 15-second handicap, because he's dropped 2 places there in pit lane. And now surely some of this traffic is going to be in amongst the leaders as well, as they tick off another lap. That's 12 laps completed now in this race. Leonov into the pit lane as well now from 5th position, solo driver, so we'll just have to sit there for the mandatory minimum pit stop time.
And they come now. Evgeny Leonov coming in to serve his stop. Doors open, not a surprise, obviously, first and foremost, because obviously the heat is quite extensive here at Barcelona. Temperatures have obviously been fairly sky high, and it's something that the drivers are having to contest as we now pan across the pit lane. We've got Leonov in, Bogdan Duma swapping in as well for Nicholas van Dierendonk. We've got Stephen Licorice coming into the car as well. Mark Speakervoz, Alba also stepping in as well. Obviously Laura van den Hengel doing the first stint. But yeah, it's going to be the turn of Albert Vazquez Redondo, who's now going to be taking the wheel of that Ferrari. We now peel up to the front once more. Once again, the gaps are slender. It seems that once again we're seeing on show the power of the Porsche in the cornering section, where it gets a little technical. Coming out of Sector 2, it opens up an opportunity for Dieter Schweppes, but not quite close enough once more to challenge on Luca Ludwig, who's got that straight line speed advantage in that Ferrari. But you've got to ask the question, Chris, how are the tyres faring?
Well, the times are actually pretty good at the moment. They are within a tenth or 2 of their best. So unless it's just been management from the get-go, we're not seeing a huge drop-off, but maybe towards the end of the race we might see that happen as Luca Ludwig heads for pit lane now, as does Federico Al-Rafai. So Dieter Schweppes continues on his way. Still 3 minutes left on the drive change window, so they can squeeze another lap out of it, as Schweppes is doing, but Ludwig and Al Rafai in.
2 of the 3 championship leaders coming into the pits, and then it'll be the turn of Ivan Velasco, of course reigning champion in the GT Cup Open, and he could yet be the first driver in GT Cup Open Europe history to go back-to-back and take more than 1 title here in the GT Cup Open. What a record that would be, and I'm sure one that he would love to garner. Matteo Lovisi, currently sat in 5th, will also be jumping in. Of course, Federico Al Rafai sticking it on pole earlier on today. Ivan Giacomo now moving up to 5th as a response to those pit stops, and Ripoll Jr. also coming into the pits and will be serving his time as well. We've now got the 66 Porsche coming in of Vecchio. And he, of course, flying solo as well, so no driver change for him, but he will have to serve the time necessary. it's tantalising. Obviously, those that have already boxed now are going to be looking to catch up. So we'll see how all this makes out. Obviously, all eyes on Leonov as well, really, because he could yet cause a stir, Chris.
Yeah, he was the one of the first ones to come in, wasn't he, with Ryman. So race leader Dieter Schweppes continues on his way, but he will have to come in on this lap.
There's Leonov.
Yeah, there's Leonov, so he's come out ahead of Ivan Velasco there. Remember that 80 green Ferrari did have 10 seconds of handicap to serve as well. So Schweppes here will swing right and head for pit lane. Everyone else behind him will have to do the same as well. We're into the last 90 seconds or so now of the driver change window. So Stinas Longen will be in, Florentin Cesco, Johannes Zelger and Ivan Nikoma.
We'll have to keep an eye on the deltas as well between Velasco, or should I say, sorry, Leonov and Lovisi. Of course, Lovisi, our net race leader as it stands, because he's already pitted. Obviously, didn't need to serve any time during the change phase. So, regardless of Al Rafai obviously losing the lead advantage after coming toe-to-toe with Ludwig, it hasn't cost them too much. They have the lead returned to them from a net standpoint, but obviously. All eyes on Leonov to see what his times are, because he's got 3 seconds to find on Lovisi, 3.1 to be exact. And we'll have to wait until they actually put in the optimal laps. And I can tell you that it's purple for Leonov in the middle sector. So he's going to work. He's a whole second faster than Lovisi coming out of the middle sector alone. Yeah,
that's astonishing speed, isn't it? And Velasco lapping quicker than Lovisi on his outlap as well. And so Lovisi has taken the lead back for GDL in the pit stop window for now. We'll see where Martins comes out. And it's going to be ahead. It's going to be ahead of the GDL car. So Leandro Martins and Rackar, as it was in Portimao, in the lead of the race in the AM-entered car. And surely it'll be Leonov for Volcano in third position now. But you might expect Lovisi to be able to close in on Leandro Martins for the closing stages of the race. Just under 21 minutes left on the clock, and that incident between Al Rafai and Ludwig on the first lap is under investigation. Now, there might be a number of cars included in that investigation, actually, because Ludwig was not the only guilty party of that. And then, of course, there was a separate incident a few laps later. It was on the safety car restart, wasn't it? The driver change window is officially over now. It is Martins who leads by 4.5 seconds to Lovisi, then Leonov, then this man, Ivan Velasco, in fourth, with Nicolas Salins in fifth. And now, has there been a drama here for Nicolas Salins? Oh. No, was it running long for Johannes Zelger?
I'm not sure. Nicolas Salin stepping in for Stinas Longen. We just caught the pictures of them there, but this is a little moment that the 82 Ferrari had. Mark Speakervos coming out of the pit lane and coming through towards turns 1 and turns 2, just spilling it slightly, coming on to the curbing as we now watch the 91 Porsche at the inside of Javier Ripoll Jr. on what looks to be Bogdan Duma, just currently sat behind him now after a move coming in towards Leclerc Bend. So fantastic effort there from Javier Ripoll Jr., who's doing the whole race here at this point. Camille Perrion has also got past Prezesi as well further down, as they now fly through turn 14 once more. Now, all eyes on Lovisi as well, because obviously we mentioned that he lost a whole second when Leonov went purple in that middle sector on the previous lap. Well, he actually matched in the final sector on that previous lap, so it was all lost. That whole second was lost in that middle sector. Since then, Lovisi has found his feet. He's starting to now lap consistently the same way. Here comes Alex Ryman up the inside this time on Bogdan Duma, wheel to wheel, heading through turn 1, coming out of turn 2. They're going to make a little bit of contact, a slight graze, but enough for Bogdan Duma to hold on. But Ryman with that inside line is going to carry the speed. Obviously, Duma now has got to hang on here and try and do his best, given difficult circumstances, but somehow, some way, has held on to that position.
Duma fighting Ripoll Jr. in front of him. That's important for the AM Championship, because the 57, the yellow car, is third in the AM Championship going into this weekend. His teammate, which we can just see, the Nathan Braun's 52 car, the grey and green one, is just ahead of them in the championship. in the AM category. So this is all really important for the AM Championship, especially with Leandro Martins way out in front as it stands, but Ryman can't quite find his way through for overall position. This is 8th position that's being disputed at the moment. Of course, Ryman dropping back as a result of that handicap as well. But now down the inside into turn number 10, gets it stopped on the brakes, and that is a position change there. But Dumas fights back on the outside, but the track will come to Ryman, and the Estonian goes through. You can also see as well that Fabio Berbini is right on the back of Nicolas Eilens. That has overall championship implications as well, because Nicolas Eilens is second in the championship going into this weekend, and so overall position is important there. And now look at this, Matteo Levisi already onto the back of Leandro Martins for the overall lead of the race.
Yeah, they got him very tight together as we're now watching the Mertel Motorsport Ferrari also make its way around. Of course, Ivan Velasco behind the wheel of this one this time, but we now head back to the front as Levisi tries to challenge Leandro Martins. A little look, a warning shot fired, heading through towards turn 4. Obviously no move just yet, but he's really poking at that tighter line. Is Matteo Levisi. He's going to try it down the inside, heading in towards Seat corner. Porsche to Porsche. Levisi lifts, though, to the top of our timing tower. P1 for Matteo Levisi. Leandro Martins now down into second, and Leonov is coming as well.
Yeah, Leonov only 2.1 back from this battle. So Martin still has the overall, the class lead, sorry, but yep, losing the overall lead. And here comes Evgeny Leonov, who hasn't exactly been on the same vein of form. He's only been on the podium once so far this year. It was a regular podium contender in 2023, but of course has come across a hugely competitive field this year, and a bit of bad luck as well, which he doesn't seem to have shaken off from last year either, but now looking in a really strong position to finish on the rostrum today.
Yeah, Fabio Berbini managing to move up to 5th ahead of Nicolas Eilens, so once again more trouble for them, but let's keep an eye on this. A replay coming through the Lakea section. Lovely drone shot, but not a lovely shot at all for Aro1 Racing, who have once again pivoted the car coming through out of turn 11 and on the run up towards turn 12. Just a little bit, perhaps a little bit of oversteer just coming into play there, maybe getting onto the curb a little bit too much. And it is a going concern at times, especially here at Barcelona. For certain drivers, they've got to manage it. But the VC managing it well right now. And look at this, Martin's under attack, because finally Evgeny Leonov has managed to find his way onto the tail of his fellow Porsche competitor as they now head down through towards turn 4 this time. Evgeny Leonov looking for a better run, heading down towards Seat corner at turn 5, just trying to ask a little bit more of Leandro Martins, but Martins with a very stern run. And still trying to hang on. No opportunities here for Leonov so far. And if we remember Leonov, we can't help but think back to Portimao last year. Of course, had his opportunity for a race win around that track, if you remember. But it all went wrong around the final corner on the final lap, Chris. He spun the car.
Yeah, very dramatic moment it was. But you see again how Matteo Levisi took the lead of the race. Had the run through 4 on the inside at 5. And GDL having started on pole position back into the lead. Here comes Leonov again now on the inside into turn number 10. So this will be second position now for Leonov as Martins waits for the moment where he can turn into the corner and eventually can do so as the Volcano car clears the Racar Porsche. So it's still Porsches 1, 2 and 3 at the moment, but Velasco should be closing in as well on Martins. He was about a second and a half quicker last time around than the Portuguese, the Brazilian.
We just caught him in the back of shot there, Ivan Velasco, as we saw this move being made by Evgeny Leonov. Great effort on his part to make that happen. And, for Martins, obviously this isn't necessarily an issue because whilst obviously he's lost 2 places, he's lost the overall lead, for him it's the AM lead that matters. And the next closest driver is Javier Ripoll Jr., who's just lost out to Alex Ryman. He's now down to 8th place, so there's quite a gap. And there is a Mertel Ferrari.
Cabezas.
Yeah, Cabezas off in the gravel trap.
And 2 Q1 track racing Porsches that are fighting for the AM Championship are swapping positions as well for the last spot on the AM podium. So that's Nathan Braun's in 52, clearing Dumas in 57.
Yeah, huge battle there indeed between those two. Obviously, all points count, and that's all they matter. That's all they care about as far as racing's concerned. Obviously advancing their own championship hopes, and Nathan Braun's now moving up into 9th place. Navarrete also moving up. Here's a replay. Now, this is Alex Ryman, and we've got a safety car out on track. Now, is that typically? Yeah, because it's beached into the gravel. So the safety car now out on circuit. Here is the moment where we saw the two cars tying up together, coming through in towards turn 1. Of course, Bogdan Dumas unable to keep Nathan Braun's behind for too long. So now, this has thrown an interesting complexion, because this is great news if you're Ivan Velasco, because all of a sudden that 8.6 second gap between he and P1 is now going to be shrunk.
Great news for Fabio Babini as well, who was trying to close a 12-second gap to the lead, but is actually been lapping on the same pace and sometimes quicker than Lavisi. And so that is a great opportunity for the Tsunami Racing team to now end up on the podium. That are currently at 5th. And so, yeah, for Velasco, it'll close him onto the back of Martins. Maybe not great news for Rackard, depending on what happens on the restart and how quickly some of the drivers find their way through, because, of course, he's got a pro driver in the form of Babini and Ryman behind him.
Coming out of turn 1 now, the cars will settle down into Delta pace. But, of course, it's all being governed by race control. Here is Jorge Cabezas.
That looks technical.
Looks like a technical issue, yeah. Obviously, something wrong with the car and doesn't seem to be travelling too well. Looks a bit sick to me. And he's had to pull off into the gravel. That's coming up through turn 12, so into the final sector. So, obviously, the marshals are going to have to attend to it.
Yep, so... yeah, up at turn 12, where the yellow flags are continuing to wave. Marshals on the scene. And so we are back under safety car conditions for the second time in this race. And Matteo Lavisi's advantage eradicated. It's Leonov in 2nd, Leandro Martins in 3rd, holding the lead. Ivan Velasco, championship leaders, in 4th position. Fabio Babini in a great position there in 5th. Nicolas Salins in 6th. Ryman 7th. And then the rest of the AM battle. Javier Ripoll Jr., 2nd of the AM runners. And then Nathan Braun's, Bogdan Dumas, Fernando Navarrete, Johanna Zelga, Stephen Licorice, Luciano Lecale, Alba Vasquez, Luciano Privitello, Arturo Melga still circulating around there as well. And then here are our last runners: Spikavars, Prezesi, Fecchio and Perian, I think, after that spin at turn 10 in the RO1 car.
Number 8 of Luciano Privitello, and fortunately given a 6-second time penalty for not serving the correct amount of time during the pit stop phase.
Yes, so that's the Scuderia Veloba Corsa Super Trofeo car. And, of course, that's their first race in the championship, and so do often see some teams start to fall afoul of that. So where is he at the moment? 10th in the AM category.
Yeah, Marshall's just moving the stricken Myrtel car now out of the gravel trap. And
a time penalty, 3-second time penalty for the championship leading number 80 Myrtel car for an incident with car 67. That must be the turns 1 and 2 incident we saw on the safety car restart, or maybe even from the first lap. And so a 3-second penalty is going to really hinder them, especially as we have less than 10 minutes left on the clock. And we don't really know whether cars are going to come through on Velasco, whether he's going to try and make up places. He's got one quick car behind him and a car that he's been quicker than in front of him. So that is, yeah, a bit more drama for the number 80 crew.
And it's not going to necessarily be 9 minutes left come the end of this safety car either, because we're going to remain under these conditions now for the remainder of this lap. So it could yet go further than this, depending on how quickly that car is removed. But what can be said is that this only strengthens Lavisi's hand. But we're going to see a huge fight here now between Lavisi and Leonov here at this point, because they're both going to be joined at the hip here. And Leonov will have every chance if he can get himself in the drag of Lavisi. could upset the balance of his momentum right now. It could be a straight-up fight between those two. And despite the penalty, Velasco isn't going to want to lie down in this fight.
No, of course not. He needs to try and make up as much ground as possible and make sure he brings home the points for the championship. Because it was a 9-point advantage with the drop scores applied. More penalties coming in for not serving the handicap correctly. Car 25, which is the ZRS Motorsport Porsches on their return to the championship for the Prestipino and Carle car.
Currently sat down in 14th at the moment, but obviously given the fact that the grid are now bunched together, these penalties are heightened at this point, and obviously the threshold of obviously holding position and not is very minute, very thin, so these things can very easily lead to swapping of places very quickly.
Well, I think back to Hockenheim when Velasco and Ludwig won on the road, but it was a safety car finish and they had a 5-second penalty which dropped them miles down the down the field.
There's only mere tenths between each of the cars, so
exactly.
It makes these penalties all the more ferocious here at this point, and there's only 7 minutes remaining and we're still under safety car conditions, so there isn't necessarily going to be enough time for Leonov, for example, or should I say Velasco, I should say, to actually dispose of the, not only take the lead, but also get rid of or succeed in producing enough delta in order to contain the penalty. But it's going to be a tricky start for him now, but no doubt he's going to try and challenge the front order of things. First and foremost, he's got to get past Leandro Martins. We will be going around under safety car conditions again, folks. I'll keep you updated as to when the safety car comes to an end, but it is Lovisi who leads in what could be a big day in the championship for GDL.
Yeah, I think the incident was declared as cleared. Just a slightly too late for the safety car to come in on that previous lap, but from what we can see out the window, it's looking quite clear out there. That new bridge they've built across turn 10 is marvellous, but it does block some of the view now that we have.
Well, we used to be able to see, you can just about see the Myrtle yellow Ferrari in between the...
Yes.
We're looking out our window right now, and right in front of us is the balustrading that's on the side of the building, and also the stairs. And I could just about see the Myrtle yellow Ferrari with the marshal still attending to it on the inside. Now, whether that is... I think they've managed to get it into the escape road, just on the outside. So I think they're okay over there at the moment. But obviously, we will wait for race control to make the decision on when it comes in. But one thing's for sure, if it finishes like this, a great opportunity here for GDL to really turn this championship on its head.
Well, yes, would rather make up for what happened in Paul Ricard, wouldn't it? They're 12 points back going into this weekend, and they would take a chunk out of them here even before the penalty is applied for the number 80. So yeah, this could really bring GDL back into play in the championship, and it's such two contrasting characters. Safety car is in this lap, so we will get just under 5 minutes of this race remaining.
I think as well, if you look at the GDL results, of course, when drop scores are factored in, I think they're going to be probably punished, I think, a lot less in many ways.
Well, yes, so the 80 is dropping 8 points, whereas Lovisi and RFI are only dropping 1. So after drop scores, it's a 12-point gap.
Yeah, cracking stuff. It's going to be a huge fight when we go to Monza, but obviously what's important is the remaining 2 races, because that will very much set the tone for what the Temple of Speed will bring us next month. It's amazing to think we're going to be back after a long break since Paul Ricard, and then on a slight break after this, because it's almost a month until we head to Monza. But heading through now the final portions of this lap. 4 minutes and 20 remain on the clock. Lovisi will be looking to run this out as a race winner, but Leonov, no doubt chasing a victory in his own right, getting very close and personal to his fellow Porsche up at the front. They're going to round New Holland once more, round turn 14, and very shortly the flags will go green, and it's pedal to the metal for the 3rd time in this race now. We're already seeing Velasco challenging Martins down towards turn 1 now. Did he do that too early?
I think he did, George. I think he got him before the timing line, which you're not allowed to do, but it seems like Martins might have some sort of problem because he's been mugged. As Babini's gone through there in the Tsunami and Scalicchio car. So I wonder if he was just letting them through, but Yeah, you're not allowed to overtake until the safety car line.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Until the timing line, sorry.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what race control make of that one. But again, it looks like he's under pressure again, is Martins, because here comes Ryman. And look at this as well, further back. Javier Ripoll Jr. under pressure as he now looks to challenge Nicholas Salins as well. Nathan Braun's part of that fight as well. A big moment there for Martins. There's definitely a problem with that car, I think. Down the inside goes Ryman. An easy move coming through Seat. Yeah, clearly an issue on part of Leandro Martins. They're falling down through the field, and a 3-second time penalty for car 19. So there we go. For an incident at turn 1, that's an additional 3 seconds given out by race control. This time, though, to car 19 of Fernando Navarrete Rodrigo.
Yeah, I wonder if that was for the start as well, for cutting turn 2, not using the correct escape road. Leonov is all over the back of Levisi. Here is well, Babini's through into third.
Yeah,
already. Yeah, so he's cleared Velasco already and up into third position. So yeah, they're on for an overall podium as well. Maybe even a win, because he's only 1.9 back from Levisi and Leonov, and they're very close to the match. And if they start knocking 7 bells out of each other, Babini will really close in on them. It should be 2 to go when we go across the stripe once again.
Babini got a lovely run coming through the final sector as well, and he's right on the tail here of Evgeny Leonov. That gap is only showing signs of closing, and I tell you what, by turn 1, this could look a lot different in the top 3. Not this time, though, still a little bit more of a gap to find, but Babini had a fantastic run coming out of turn 13 as I was looking out the commentary box window. If he keeps this up, there could be a real twist in the tail of this race. Is now at the inside once more. We saw the 91 trying to challenge. That's Javier Ripoll Jr. on Nicholas Salins. They look to squabble. Further back, you got as well, Nathan Braun's and Bogdan Duma also part of this scrap. I tell you what, it's lighting up here in the dying moments, Chris.
Yeah, crucial for the AM Championship. This is Braun's tries to get into second position in his class, and Salins is not as quick as these cars behind him at the moment. He really had to slam the door shut on Ripoll Jr. There, going into turn 1. And he'll want to clear that car as quick as possible, because he's got all of his AM rivals right behind him, as that's Navarrete trying to get on the inside of Bogdan Duma for 4th position in AM out of turn 5. And I think he did get that move done.
I think Leandro Martins is hoping that Salins does him a favour here, but he gets on the curb, and that's not a favour at all. Around the outside now. Oh, there we have it. Move being made. We saw them just getting onto the curb. Nicholas Salins just getting it all wrong, and Ripoll Jr. around the outside getting the move done, and Nathan Braun's coming into this too. Up the inside, coming down towards the KS.
So the top 3 now, Linus Stern in class, but Braun's got into the back of Ripoll Jr. That allows Salins out, and off goes the Q1 car. That's crucial for the AM Championship. He's taken Ripoll Jr. with him as well, but for the 52 and for Nathan Braun's, that is a huge impact for their championship.
Yeah, huge moments indeed, and still Leandro Martins limping around. Remember, of course, was eaten alive by those runners further up at the top, and we're watching those runners right now. Babini in this fight. He's only 5/10 behind, and we're on to the final lap of the race. Matteo Levisi still out in front and holding his own rather well, still maintaining a solid gap, and we're watching now cars trickle down the order. That's Ripoll Jr. and Braun's who are involved in that huge scrap coming out of Leclerc, of course, but ending up in the gravel trap. A little look at the inside as now once again we watch them head through towards turn 1. Now peeling on through. Of course, remember Navarrete in that Porsche in one of his first starts here in the Porsche car in the GT Cup Open Europe, but being challenged by Dumas further back, and Nicholas Salins under attack.
And out wide there goes Navarrete, and trying to find his way through on Salins. Navarrete now second in the AM Championship, but for second position, Fabio Babini trying to get on the inside of Evgeny Leonov through turn 5. The 2 Porsches run line side by side going towards turn number 6 and 7. There's contact between them as Leonov tried to shut the door, and the Volcano car goes through the gravel trap. Surely Babini is going to emerge in second place. He does.
He certainly does. It's going to be Babini who holds on. Heartbreak, of course, for Evgeny Leonov, the Volcano Motorsport car. Once again, a final lap moment. We alluded to Portimao last year, where he nearly took a victory in our opening round last season. This time, once more, a podium slips through his fingers. Velasco moves up to third, but remember, he has a time penalty. This is music to the ears of Alex Ryman. 3 wide, heading through towards Leclerc as well. Navarrete up the inside as he looks to power up Bank San Bedell as they now pirouette through. Now, once more, it becomes 2 wide this time as Navarrete fights on against the 79, just alongside him, manages to creep on through, secure the position as well. The 57 also going through, but Matteo Levisi lifts P1, a big race victory in the championship for GDL. El Rifai and Levisi are your winners here in race 1 at Barcelona.
And Sailors really tried to close the door, and Navarrete right up towards the line and gets 7th position in the end. But what a timely 3rd win of the season for GDL Racing and the number 67 crew. That has put them back in the championship hunt, with the number 80 crew of Ivan Velasco and Luca Ludwig 5th in the end. After that penalty was applied, that lifts Ryman onto the podium for a 3rd consecutive race.
Yeah, rescue some points as well for the Mertel team, who, of course, it looked like with the penalty accrued that you never know, they could have lost it all. And, you know, it's, well, fortunately for them, that's not the case. They have, of course, at least clambered onto something. This does tee up a fascinating championship fight, though. Credit to Federico Al Rifai and Matteo Levisi for the 2nd time this season. They go from pole to victory, and that's a 5th podium, along with a 4th win as well. Congratulations to them. Congratulations also to Scanaccio and Babini, who take a P2. Alex Ryman with another podium, 3rd place. Evgeny Leonov in 4th. Ludwig Velasco 5th. Martins and Schweppes in 6th. And also the AM win to go along with it. Stinas Longin, Nicholas Salen 7th. Van Dierendonk Duma 8th. Johannes Selger in 9th. Stephen Licorice and Trentin in 10th place. 11th for Navarrete and Libera. Melgar and Bozzoni in 12th. Chen and Speakervods in 13th. Prestopino and Micali in 14th. Vanden Hengel and Vasquez in 15th, with Roberto Fecchio in 16th. Javier Ripoll Jr. in 17th, with Camel Perry and Florentin Sescu in 18th. Luciano Piviatelio down in 19th place, with Prezesi and Giacomo in 20th. Laurent van der Velde, Nathan Braun's 21st, and we lost Cabay, Thas and Frozio, Innocenti Bellici, and Prisvalak and Zaynan. And this is how the championship looks. What a race that was, and it's come right down. Ivan Velasco and Luca Ludwig still hold on to the championship lead, but it's been cut down to 7 points between them and Matteo Levisi, Federico Al Rifai. They move up to 2nd in the standings, dropping Nicholas Salins and Stinas Longin down to 3rd. Alex Ryman with that big podium finish, now well and truly in 4th as well. Wow, final race to come tomorrow, Chris. And it could tee up a fascinating finale when we go to Monza.
It certainly could. Of course, that's given Rakkar a little bit more breathing space in the AM Championship. So according to my calculations, that puts Van Dierendonk and Dumas 2nd, now 38 points to Schweppes and Martins 44, with 8:16, 24 points still available. So they are 1 step further to the AM Championship. Haven't done the math on the overall just yet for the drop scores, but that's Fabio Babini, very happy with 2nd position.
Fantastic race for them.
There, yeah, marvellous. That safety car at the end there really brought them back into play. Great stuff, but yeah, that is a really important win for GDL.
Huge win.
It puts them back 2nd in the championship and on the tail of Velasco and Ludwig. And
just to put it clear, one day I will learn to count. That's their 4th podium and indeed their 3rd win. So well done there. This was the moment though, Chris.
Yeah, so that was the moment that Nathan Braun's and Javier Ripoll Jr. Went out of it. And of course, that was important for Braun's because he was 2nd in the championship, and that has actually, conversely, they actually gain a point because that's their 2nd non-score of the season, and you get 2 drop scores. But, of course, that does now put them 4 points behind the sister Q1 car. And, you know, they were line astern with the leader at the moment. And then this was the last lap moment where Leonov lost the podium. He just moved across the front of the Tsunami car there and ended up in the gravel.
He knew that he had forfeited the racing line, I think, going up the inside, heading up towards Birth Curve. But all smiles on the face of the GDL team. I mean, that is a fantastic victory for them. 2nd in the championship now with only 7 points between them and P1. Let's take you through the top 3. Alex Ryman, post-penalty to Ivan Velasco, has marched him on to yet another podium. A terrific result for him. That's his 3rd podium this season. Of course, it was Fabio Babini who pulled out an immaculate 2nd place. A truly tremendous performance by the ever-experienced Fabio Babini. But our race winners, Matteo Levisi and Federico Al Rifai, they taste success once more. They're 2nd in the championship, 7 points off the top, and they'll be standing by for an interview with Alfredo.
Matteo Luisi, Federico Alrifai, winners of a very lively race one in Barcelona with lots of fights. And Federico started from the pole and had to fight from straight.
Yeah, it was a tricky battle with Ludwig. We had quite a few battles. It was good. Just it was a bit unfortunate. He overtook me off track, and yeah, it was an illegal move. He pushed me wide, and then I lost 2 positions. So yeah, I came in the box P3, and then Matte did a great job to go and win the race.
And Matteo, at the end, of course, with the safety car and everything, it was tough to keep everybody behind.
Yes, I'm very happy after the bad weekend of Paul Ricard. We are back here in Barcelona with a win, and so it's perfect. Fede give me the car perfect, so...
And it's good for the championship.
Yes, it's very good.
Well done, guys. Podium now.
Well, an immaculate race for GDL. Let's see how they did it. It was a great start for Federico Alrifai. Got the jump right at the get-go. And obviously Ludwig, who tried to challenge coming in towards turn 1, knew it was going to be a difficult task to get past the Porsches. They came in towards turns 1 and turns 2. Ludwig having to take a lot of the off-track in order to try and make it through the first 2 corners. There was quite the squabble further back as well. You can just see Lauren van den Hengel trying to get past the wall of 4 that were right in front of her. It was a great first stint, though, for Alrifai. He managed to build a gap of beyond a second. And if anyone was in trouble, it was Luca Ludwig. It was a fantastic start for Vitus Schweppes, an unfortunate start though for some cars in the initial stint though, however. But this was one of the biggest incidents we saw during the course of the race. Lars Zanen coming together with Lorenzo Fernando Innocenti coming through towards the final corner at turn 14, upset the balance of their race. Once again we saw an off-track move, this time Ludwig taking the on-track race lead, but at what cost? They would later obtain a penalty, which of course Ivan Velasco would be hampered with on his stint. We saw racing action continue though, and Leandro Martins was under constant attack. Unfortunately on his stint, we'll lose the race lead to eventual winner Matteo Lovisi on the run out of Seat Corner. And once more, we saw more movements as well, with Evgeny Leonov taking the 2nd place position and 2nd place on the podium provisionally. Though later he would come under attack, this time from Fabio Babini. Unfortunately, just missing his braking point, Velasco would end up onto the gravel. It would not perturb, though, Matteo Lovisi, who would go on to obtain yet another victory for GDL and also move them up to 2nd in the championship, with only the small matter of 3 races still to go in the series. And we are now having a look just behind the podium now as they drivers look to get prepared, ready for the podium celebrations. And what an occasion, obviously. It's an important round. We mentioned, obviously, the fact that GDL had not gone to, well, from pole to victory since Spa-Francorchamps. They were on pole at Paul Ricard, but that was a non-scoring round. They had been on pole before as well. Obviously, that was their 4th pole position of the campaign. Their first one was actually at the very start of the season, where they would finish in 8th place in race 1. But, you know, when you need these moments, Chris, it's imperative they happen now.
Absolutely. It's only their 4th time on the podium, which is quite surprising to say, really. But they have constantly been in the fight. And also, worth mentioning, only a 2nd podium of the season for Davide Scanicchio and Fabio Babini. Fantastic result for the Tsunami team. But yes, GDL very much back in the championship hunt now and really whetting our appetite for tomorrow's race, where, you know, we were thinking about, are they going to be able to win the championship this weekend? Well, that's certainly not going to be
happen now.
The case now, is it? As the teams are on the podium, we'll hear the national anthem of San Marino.
Well, there we have it. Congratulations indeed, Matteo Lovisi and Federico Alrifai. And just conversing there as well with Davide Scanicchio and Fabio Babini. Of course, Babini, a legend of the scene here in the GT Sport organisation, has also been part of many other championships, carries a wealth of experience. And Alex Ryman, who's also on an incredible rise at the moment. His recent results have been absolutely fantastic. That's his 3rd podium in a row. And one must be asking, Chris, when is the eventual win coming?
Well, that is the age-old question, is it not?
It is.
I mean, he's still got 3 opportunities to do so, and he definitely has the talent to do it, and he's been showing that in Carrera Cup as well. As Mr. Santamaria is going to be the man to present the winners' trophies to Federico Arrafai and Matteo Levisi.
Yeah, wonderful occasion for them both. Obviously, young pairings, exciting though for the future of the sport, and no doubt this will only buoyant their careers going forward. I'm sure there'll be many teams in the future that are obviously looking to acquire such talent, and I must say GDL have done a great job working with them as well, pulling out some really outstanding results this campaign. Of course, in the case of Alex Ryman, that's back-to-back 3rd places in a row, as now they spray the champagne. And obviously all over the team representative at GDL as well. Fabio Bobini, Davide Scanaccio, obviously celebrating a fantastic result on their part. Yeah, it's a nice way to end the first day, Chris. Obviously, we've got to do it all again tomorrow.
Certainly do. Another 50-minute race. Will really set up the finale in Monza. Not doing last year at Spa, we combined for the endurance race the GT Open and the GT Cup field. Not doing that this year, so the GT Cup runners will get to battle it out amongst themselves in the standard format. So it should be a thrilling finale, but we'll have the AM podium shortly. And yeah, well done to Leandro Martins there for hanging on to that one, because at the end there, that was turning into a bar brawl. That was incredibly intense. And I just clocked as well, it's a double podium for Tsunami Racing Team on the overall and in AM, with Johannes Zelger in the 79 car, 3rd position behind Bogdan Duma and Nico van Dierendonk, who now move into 2nd in the AM standings, and keeping that one alive just about to Schweppes and Martins. Of course, they extend their championship lead. It's a 5th victory of the season for Racar Motorsports, Portuguese-based team. And for Dumas and Van Dierendonk, they continue the very strong podium form. It's the 7th podium for that team.
Well, trophies being presented. Michelin representatives now obviously presenting the 3rd place AM trophy to Johannes Zelger after finishing strongly at the very end. And a great showing as well by the likes of Nicolas van Dierendonk and Bogdan Duma. Of course, the young man moving in from rallying and into Porsche machinery. And obviously hailed in Romania for being such a vibrant talent and national champion in rallying in his home country.
Yes, racing alongside his team manager. And Dumas, only in his really 2nd year of car racing, having been a rallier and National Coast champion as well in time attacks and super rallies and whatnot. But at just 18 years old, he's doing another cracking job out there.
Yeah, fantastic job indeed, and well done, Leandro Martins and Dieter Schweppes. It looked like they were going to have a tricky return back home, but they did exceptionally well. But folks, it's been absolutely tremendous. We've enjoyed the action. I hope you did too. We'll be back again tomorrow for more action. Join us for qualifying at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.